3 porcelain teacups on a low kitchen table, steam rising. You are 9 years old. The men pouring the tea did not bring it. They took it from your mother's shelf. The apartment is 6 tatami in Kamagasaki, Nishinari Ward, Osaka. The walls are paper thin. You can hear the neighbors cough. Your father is not here. He left his shoes. He took a jacket. Your mother sits with her hands on her knees. The men are explaining the math. 30 million yen. Compounding weekly. You sit in the corner with a notebook. You pretend to do homework. You memorize everything. You already know you're not going home as a child. Your father's debt has a name in the neighborhood. They call it the ledger. 40% a month. Nobody beats the ledger. A school notebook with quadratic equations half finished. The cover is blue. Your name is written in the careful kanji. You are holding it the morning your mother walks you across Shinsekai, past the Tsutenkaku Tower, past the Fugu restaurants, to a building with no sign on the door. She has cut your hair with kitchen scissors. She has dressed you in your best shirt. She has told you to speak only when spoken to. Inside, the oyabun sits behind a low table. He is maybe 60. He has a fountain pen. He looks at you the way a man looks at a car he is thinking about buying. Your mother speaks. She tells him you are smart. She tells him you are obedient. She tells him you are good with numbers. She offers you, not to be hurt, to work. The oyabun asks you one question. He asks, what is 30 million yen divided by 40%? You answer in 4 seconds. He nods. He tells your mother the debt is now the child's debt. He tells you to come back tomorrow at 6 in the morning. He tells you to bring the notebook. Your mother walks you home. She doesn't hold your hand. She can't look at you. That night she cooks rice with nothing but water and a pinch of salt. You eat in silence. You put the notebook by the door. You don't cry. You finished crying the moment she said the word work. A brown paper envelope folded twice. No address written on it. This is what you carry. You are 9.5. They call you a runner. The work is called greeting duty. The pay goes straight to the ledger. You see none of it. Your route covers Shinsekai, Dotonbori, and the edge of Namba. You walk 8 miles a day. You memorize every alley, every shortcut, every gap between buildings where a man twice your size cannot follow. This map becomes your second brain. You will need it later. You don't know that yet. You carry envelopes. You carry small white packages and butcher paper. You carry sealed boxes. You carry ledger sheets from one office to another. You carry a bento box once a week for the oyabun's lunch. You never open any of them. You never ask what is inside. A boy who asks questions is a boy who becomes a problem. Your supervisor is a mid-level enforcer named Tanaka. He is missing the tip of his left pinky. In the Yakuza, this is yubitsume, a receipt for a past failure. He looks at you the first morning and sighs. He gives you 3 rules. Never steal from the family. Never disrespect a superior. Never show fear to a debtor. Fear is a virus, he tells you. If they see it in your eyes, it spreads to their spine. Then the person who owes you money thinks he has options. Your job is to make sure he never feels that way. You don't sleep the first night. You sleep on the floor the second. By the third, you sleep like a dead thing. Your mother keeps 200 yen on the counter for your lunch. You spend it on rice balls from a convenience store in Ebisu-cho. You eat them walking. You learn every face on your route. The fishmonger, the pachinko attendant, the woman who sweeps the steps of the bathhouse at 5 every morning. They all know who you work for. Nobody says hello. A manila file folder with a debtor's name written in black marker. You are 12. They have promoted you. They call you an apprentice. The promotion comes with a small desk in the corner of Tanaka's office and a pay adjustment on the ledger. You still see none of the money. The ledger is now down to 26 million. You have been working for 3 years. Your first round of debtors is a practice set, small accounts, low risk. Tanaka brings you along like a doctor bringing a student on hospital rounds. Except the patients owe money instead of needing treatment. The prognosis is always the same. a sushi cook behind on 400,000 yen, a pachinko regular at 1.2 million, a hostess at 600,000, a contractor at 3 million, a pawn shop owner at 5 million. You read each file the night before. You memorize the numbers. You memorize the family members. You memorize the pressure points. Your first real collection is a takoyaki vendor in Shinsekai. 2 million yen. 3 months behind. His stand has bad lighting and worse recipes. Tanaka tells you to handle the conversation. You sit across from this man who is twice your age and 3 times your size. You open the file. You read the numbers out loud. Principal, interest, penalties, total owed. You don't raise your voice. You don't threaten. You just let the math do the violence. The vendor starts sweating. He offers partial payment. You tell him partial is acceptable. You tell him the remainder will accrue a 15% late fee, compounding. You explain this the way a bank teller explains an overdraft charge. Polite, professional, flat. He pays in full the next day. Tanaka watches and nods. He tells the oyabun, "You are a natural." The oyabun raises an eyebrow and says 4 words. He is an accountant who makes house calls. Promote him. You don't ask. You just open the next file, a cheap ballpoint pen with blue ink. You click it open. You click it closed. You are 16. They call you the calculator now, not because of your math, although your math is exceptional, because you calculate the exact pressure needed for each debtor, no more, no less. You have learned that violence is expensive. Violence is messy. Violence attracts police attention and witnesses and medical bills. Debt collection is not about violence. Debt collection is about architecture. You build a structure of fear so precise that the debtor dismantles himself. You walk away clean. Tanaka calls this engineering. You study each target for 1 week before the visit. You learn his routine. You learn his family. You learn his pressure points. Daughter in private school in Kitano. Son in cram school in Umeda. Wife with a secret of her own. Restaurant with a health code violation the inspector hasn't caught yet. Lease coming up for renewal. Aging parents in a nursing home in Sakai. You never threaten the family. You mention the school. You mention the lease. You mention how fragile commercial glass is in this neighborhood, especially at 3 in the morning. You don't say you will break the windows. You talk about how fragile glass is. The implication does the work. The beauty of implication is that it is not technically a crime. You cannot arrest a man for discussing structural engineering. Your collection rate at 16 is 87%. The branch average is 60. You eat dinner alone in a soba shop in Namba every night. You tip the owner well. He is the closest thing you have to a friend. He thinks you are a junior accountant at a real estate firm. You let him think so. A plain beige folder, unopened, on a lacquered table. A tea house in Nakanoshima, neutral ground. You are 19. The folder is your final exam. The debtor is a real estate developer in Umeda who borrowed 800 million yen to finance a luxury condo project. The project collapsed when his permits were revoked. He has lawyers, he has accountants, he has a security team. He thinks his corporate shell makes him untouchable. He is wrong. You don't visit his office. You don't call his phone. You spend 3 weeks mapping his entire life. You find his wife's family. They own a chain of 4 ryokan in Kyoto, traditional inns that depend entirely on reputation and online reviews. You find his son. The son is applying to Tokyo University's law program, where any hint of criminal association is an automatic disqualification. You find his mistress. She has an apartment in Shinsaibashi, registered under a shell company tied to the same accounts he used for the loan. You find a second mortgage on a house in Ashiya. You find a tax discrepancy from 3 years ago. You find a former business partner who hates him. You compile everything into one folder. 90 pages, cross-referenced, indexed. You request the meeting at a tea house you have used twice before. He arrives with 2 bodyguards. You arrive alone. You wear a dark suit and no watch. You set the folder on the table. You slide it across. You don't open it. You know the folder won't need to open. You tell him the contents are a comprehensive audit of his financial exposure. You tell him the syndicate values long-term business relationships. You propose a restructured payment plan, 60 monthly installments, reduced interest, collateralized against the Ryokan chain. If he signs, the folder stays closed. If he doesn't, copies reach his wife, his son's admissions committee, the Kyoto Tourism Board, and the National Tax Agency simultaneously. He signs before his tea gets cold. You walk out of the tea house. The Nakanoshima Canal reflects the streetlights. You breathe in cold river air. You are 19 years old. You have just moved 800 million yen with a folder you never opened. The ledger back at the office drops to 11 million. The original 30 million is almost gone. Almost. You sleep 4 hours that night. You dream in spreadsheets. You wake up and the first thing you do is reach for the pen. You click it open. You click it closed. You do this 12 times before you get out of bed. You tell yourself it is a habit. You know it is something else. A black leather ledger book with hand-ruled columns. You are 23. They call you management now. The oyabun called you personally. He said 2 words, come up. The promotion comes with a new office on the 2nd floor. A crew of 6 collectors reports to you. You get access to the full branch ledger. The numbers are staggering. Your branch manages 12 billion yen in outstanding receivables across 400 active accounts. It is a mid-sized financial institution, except the compliance department carries Tanto, and the customer service line ends with a visit to Kobe Kaisei Hospital. You systematize everything. You build risk profiles. You categorize debtors by repayment probability, asset exposure, and psychological vulnerability. You build a 4-tier collection strategy. Tier 1 is polite reminders by mail. Tier 2 is financial pressure through business contacts. Tier 3 is social pressure through family and employers. Tier 4 is physical intimidation, used only as a last resort because it is the least efficient method with the highest operational risk. Your collection rate in year 1 is 94%. The previous manager hit 61. The oyabun starts sending other branch managers to study your methods. You are 23 and you have essentially invented a management consulting framework for organized crime. You move into an apartment in Umeda, 10th floor, a view of the Yodo River. You buy a suit from a tailor in Shinsaibashi who asks no questions. You eat at a soba shop where the owner knows your order and doesn't know your name. You have a woman who thinks you work in corporate finance. You do. In a sense, she is a dental hygienist from Kobe. She is kind. She is 31. She wants children. You take her to dinner twice a month. You never stay the night. You tell her your schedule is demanding. She believes you. You don't visit your mother. You send her money through an intermediary. You haven't been back to Kamagasaki in 2 years. You collect everything. You keep nothing. A high school math textbook open to quadratic equations. You are 25. The apartment is small, clean, and heartbreakingly organized. The widow's husband was a mid-level associate who died during a territorial dispute in Kawasaki. Standard workplace accident in this industry. He left behind 18 million yen on the ledger and a 14-year-old daughter. The syndicate's policy on inherited debt is simple. Blood does not erase ink. The obligation transfers to the next of kin. The widow's kin is the daughter. You visit the apartment in Tenaji. The widow has arranged her husband's photo on a shelf next to a bowl of fresh rice and a stick of incense. The daughter is doing homework at the kitchen table. She looks up when you walk in. She doesn't look scared. She looks resigned. Her mother already told her what happens when the men in suits come to visit. You sit down. You open the file. You start reading the numbers. Then you stop. The textbook is open to the page you were on at her age. The equations are solved correctly. Her handwriting is neat. The margins have notes in blue ink. You do the math. She is 14. You were 9. It's not the same, except for everything that matters. You close the file. You tell the widow you will restructure the payment. 0 interest, 10-year term, no penalties. This is a decision so far outside your authority that it is technically treason. You walk out and you don't report the visit to anyone. The oyabun finds out within a week. Of course he does. Nothing happens in this organization without him knowing. He calls you in. He doesn't yell. He never yells. He sits across from you in his wood-paneled office, and he asks a question with only one right answer. Are you losing your edge? You tell him no. You tell him the restructured deal maximizes long-term recovery from a low-value account. You frame mercy as strategy. In this organization, compassion without justification is weakness. Weakness is a resignation letter written in your own blood. He stares at you for a long time. He nods. Something shifts behind his eyes. A note has been made. A flag has been planted. You just learned the most important lesson in the Yakuza. The moment they suspect your loyalty has been compromised by a conscience, your evaluation takes a different direction. That night, you see the faces for the first time. The takoyaki vendor, the school teacher who borrowed for her mother's surgery, the college student who dropped out, the hostess from Kita, the pawn shop owner in Tsuruhashi, the widow, the daughter with the textbook. You can name 17 of them. You stop counting at 17 because the list does not stop. You sleep 2 hours. You wake up at 4. You sit at the kitchen table of your Umeda apartment with the ledger open in front of you. You stare at the columns until the numbers stop meaning anything. The sun comes up over the Yodo River. You have not moved. Can you still walk away? No? A cheap USB hard drive, 500 gigabytes in a sock drawer. You have been skimming information for years. Not money, information. Every transaction, every collection, every bribe paid to every police officer in the Osaka Prefectural Police. Every envelope passed to every politician in the Kansai region. Every shell company, every laundering route through Kobe and Fukuoka and Macau. You stored it as insurance. The way every smart Yakuza member stores insurance. You never planned to use it. Now you are planning to use it. You contact a prosecutor in Tokyo through a chain of intermediaries, 6 people long, a former debtor who became a paralegal who knows a court clerk who knows a junior prosecutor who knows the senior one. It takes 4 months. You offer everything. Account structures, leadership hierarchy, money laundering routes, political connections. In exchange, you want 2 things: witness protection for yourself and your mother, and the cancellation of every debt on your branch's ledger. 400 families freed with the stroke of a pen. The prosecutor agrees in principle. The operation is scheduled for 3 months out. You start preparing. You move small amounts of cash to a locker at Shin-Osaka station. You buy a prepaid phone under a false name. You practice walking different routes home from the office. You sleep less. You drink more coffee. You lose 4 kilograms. You don't notice that Tanaka is watching you. Tanaka has been watching you for 20 days. He cannot explain what he sees. He just says your energy is different. In the Yakuza, intuition is a more reliable surveillance system than any camera. He reports his concerns up the chain. The oyabun orders a quiet audit. You don't know any of this. You are too busy planning your exit to see the walls closing in. A small brass coin locker key, stamped number 247. The call comes at 2 in the morning. Not from the prosecutor, from Tanaka. His voice is flat. Flat is worse than angry. He tells you the oyabun knows. Not everything. Enough. He tells you to run. Now. Tonight. He is giving you a head start because of what you meant to him. The head start is measured in hours. You ask him why. He is quiet for a long moment. He says he recruited a smart kid. He is not going to watch them turn that kid into a cautionary tale. His pinky was enough of a lesson for one lifetime. You grab the hard drive from the sock drawer. You take one bag. You leave the watch the oyabun gave you on the kitchen counter. You leave your real wallet. You leave the photograph of your mother. You leave the apartment in Umeda for the last time. The Dotonbori Canal reflects neon against the water as you walk past it. For a moment, Osaka is the city you never allowed yourself to see. You keep walking. You make it to Shin-Osaka station. The last Nozomi to Tokyo leaves in 40 minutes. You buy the ticket with cash. You sit on the platform, and for the first time in 16 years, you feel something you barely recognize. Hope, which is exactly when everything collapses. 3 men step onto the platform from different entrances. They are not wearing suits. They are dressed like commuters in gray jackets and dark shoes. That is worse. The syndicate did not send enforcers. The syndicate sent professionals. These are the men deployed when the job needs to look like an accident, a fall onto the tracks, a heart attack on the bench, an unfortunate stumble near the yellow line. You see them because you trained yourself to see what others miss. You have about 90 seconds. You don't run. Running triggers station cameras and alerts bystanders. You walk toward the south exit. You pass a row of coin lockers. You drop the hard drive into locker 247. You pocket the key. If they catch you, the evidence survives. You push through the exit doors into the Osaka night. Footsteps quicken behind you. You turn into Shinsekai. These streets are your operating system. You know every alley, every shortcut, every gap between buildings where a man twice your size cannot follow. You vanish into the maze like a coin dropping into a pachinko machine. They lose you in 4 blocks. You make it to a capsule hotel in Namba. You register under a name that does not exist. You pay in cash. You climb into the capsule. The ceiling is 6 inches from your face. The light is pale blue. You lie on your back and you hold the key up between your fingers. Such a small thing. Brass. 50 yen of stamped metal. Behind it is 12 billion yen in syndicate operations. Behind it is 400 families walking out of the same trap that swallowed you when you were 9 years old. Behind it is prison for you, because witness protection does not erase the 17 faces you can name and the hundreds you can't. You think about the takoyaki vendor. You think about the widow's daughter and her quadratic equations. You think about your mother who sold you to pay a debt she did not create. You think about your father who created the debt and disappeared. You think about Tanaka, who taught you how to destroy people's lives and then risked his own to save yours. And the math finally resolves. Your father's 30 million yen was never paid off. It was redistributed. Across 16 years. Across 400 families. Across 17 faces you can still name. Every yen you collected was the compounding interest on a gambler's bar tab. You were never the collector. You were the debt. You close your fingers around the key. You stare at the ceiling. You wait for the sun. 3 porcelain teacups on a low kitchen table in Kamagasaki. Steam rising. 3 men in dark suits pouring their own tea. A mother with her hands on her knees. A 9-year-old in the corner with a notebook, pretending to do homework, memorizing everything. The ledger never closes. That's the story. This one is fiction. But somewhere in Osaka right now, a kid with a talent for numbers sits in a room. While adults negotiate his future, the Yakuza fills the gap that legitimate finance refuses to touch. And the people trapped inside that gap did not build it. If this one hit you different, drop a comment and tell me which moment stayed with you. Subscribe for more. See you in the next one.